Let's understand types of windows and systems associated to it. Window is a puncher which visually connects outer and inner space and not only connects but also allows the air and ventilation, which is very important for healthy environment. Or in other words, if I have to explain you windows, I would put it like this. Window is a vented barrier which is provided or installed in a wall opening to allow air and light inside an enclosure or structure and also to give view of outdoors. Now let's talk about categories of windows. Broadly, we have three categories: openable plank, fixed glass or a fixed window, and openable sliding. So openable sliding is a horizontal movement, a fixed has no movement, and openable plank generally has a vertical movement. Now let's get into the detail of this. Let's talk about fixed windows. Fixed windows apparently look very simple and are very easy to install. However, they are placed by designers in a way where they can give you a very nice view. They can take maximum light. If there is any view, they can cater to that view. Now look at that corner window. If you place your window like that, you have a much larger view. If you look at the image on the right, you have such a nice canvas actually out of glass, and that's a huge opening. So a fixed window plays a very important role aesthetically, visually, and caters to so many opportunities which a designer can easily insert in the windows in his design. Then you have a gable window, which is generally on the upper side of the structure and allows a lot of light to come in. And there is a clear view of the sky or the upper part through these windows. Then you have lantern window, which is generally on the upper part of the structure, which allows a lot of light to get into the structure. And sometimes now with the modern technology, you also have an option to properly cover it up. But during the rains or during the during the snowfall, it is lovely to look up and you see the sky and everything, right as if it's on your head. Then you have something like skylight. Now skylights are generally placed where you have less light inside the building, but yet you want to invite more light or sun inside the building to make it more lively and more aesthetically nice. So you do these skylights on the top so that you can invite the outer sunlight inside the building. Then you have transom window, which is generally the upper part of the door. Sometimes it is also called like a ventilator above the door, but there's a little difference because it's not a proper ventilator. It could be a space which is on the top from one room to the other room. It could be from the living area to the outer area. So it's a opening which is generally provided above the door. Then you have arched window. Now this is a very interesting window because the window in itself takes the shape of the arch. It is to be curated very very precisely so that your window properly fits into that arch. And then it has its own function, whether it can be openable, it can be louvered, it can be paneled, however you want to make it, but overall the shape is going to be in the form of an arch. Then you have awning windows. So these windows are ones which are actually clipped or hinged from the top and they open up vertically. So you generally have a rod kind of a thing or a stand which actually holds them to a certain level of angle. And very interestingly, these windows, since they are opened upward, there's a lot of movement of air which is from the lower side. So even if you want to create a micro environment, all the air which is going to come inside the environment, it is going to be through the surface of the land outside. Hence the air takes that temperature and also allows that temperature to come inside the building. Hence it's a very very important energy efficient feature that you can insert in your building. And then the next one is a casement window, where it opens, it is fixed on from one side, and the other end is open, so you can actually open it up. These can be pivoted also, as you see the central image. And they're one of the commonly used windows in the houses. Then you have a dormer window. Dormer windows are provided for sloped roof and these are projected from the sloping surface. Generally, in the sloping surface, when you have the upper level, so the windows have to be provided horizontally, because in the slope, generally these sloping roofs are in those areas where you have more of rain, or you have high snowfall. So generally they are projected out, and then there is a covering on the top, but they are placed horizontally. So you can do a combination of two windows or a small window, depending on the horizontal surface that you are allowing this window to project out. Then you have a Jalaus window, which is a blind with adjustable horizontal slats for admitting light and air while excluding direct sun and rain. It is made of adjustable louvers that control ventilation. Now, these the best and the uh, most important part is that you can actually fix them up at a particular angle during any point of time in the day, as you need. If you need to have a view outside, you can put it up. If you do not want any view, you can put it up at any particular angle. So you can always play with those kind of angles as per your basic need and requirement. Then you have louvered windows. So now these louver windows are basically type of Jalaus window, or they have the similar kind of character. But in a louvered window, you have the horizontal members, which are movable, and they can be fixed up on a normal window. They can be made in the half of the window on the upper part or on the lower part. Now if you look at the image on the right, the window is basically pivoted in the center, but you have got these louvers which are vertically placed, so you can turn these louvers, you can turn these windows. So this gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of whether you want to allow the sunlight to come in, you don't want to allow the sunlight to come in, or you want the visual barrier, or you want to really see through. So it is a very, very easily operated window, which can give you a lot of flexibility in terms of your mood, and the character that you want to have inside your inner space in terms of your light as well as your ventilation. Then you have a pivoted window. So as the word says, pivoted, it is basically a point on which the window is fixed. Generally, these are vertical, but however, they are also being used in terms of horizontal. So we've given you an example of pivoted vertically on the left and horizontally on the right, and you can see the character of this window, that once they open up, they give you some space on the back side of the window as well, and on the front, of course. Yes, and if you look at the horizontal image on the horizontal pivoting thing on the right, you see some space on the upper part of the window as well as some opening on the lower part of the window. And they are very, very functional, and are one of the very commonly used type of window in terms of their character. Now in this image, if you see, you have a circular window, you have a square window, and the extreme right example is of the normal pivoted window. Then you have a storm window. Now storm window is basically used in those areas where you have very high storms and high winds, and with these winds sometimes tumblers and particles and things can be lifted up in the air, and then they are kind of hit, and they have the tendency or a probability to hit your window. So if you look at the window on the left, it has a cover. So once this cover is being placed, then the elements can't hit the window directly and damage them. In this image you can see a green cover which can be just lifted down, and then the window is protected in terms of any kind of damage that can happen from the outer surface, which is important because these are the ones which actually also control the air pressure, that is high air pressure, which is going to be during the any storm that is going to be outside. Then you have ventilators. Now ventilators are very important because ventilators are generally placed, the character of the ventilator is that they're generally placed above 5 feet or 6 feet level. They are the source of light and ventilation in those areas, and they can actually be mixed of 2-3 types of combination. As you see on the left, you have an exhaust, on the right you have an openable panel and a vertical one, on the left you see there is a horizontal panel. So these are combinations of possibilities. And also if you look at this image, you have this washroom which is there, and you have this ventilator on the top which allows a lot of light to enter into the toilet, and the toilet looks very very light and ventilated and little healthy in terms of the space. Now the next window that I'm going to talk to you about is double hung window. Double hung window consists of pair of shutters attached to one frame. The shutters are arranged one above the other. These two shutters can slide vertically within the frame. So generally, they can be overlapped to each other. They can be overlapped halfway, or one can be lifted above the other. So as this image as you can see this in the image, these are the ones which slides vertically, and there is a horizontal lock, so on whatever level you want you can just put that lock and the window stays there and becomes very functional. Then you have egress window. Now these types of windows are basically meant for evacuation, so in case if there is any kind of casualty, any kind of emergency or a fire, that you need to just run out of the window and the main staircase or the door is somehow locked or closed, then you can easily access these windows. These are horizontal sliding window. Once you open it up, it remains there and the person can easily come out and just run out of the place to save his or her life. Then after this you have single hung window. A single hung one window is one in which one part which is vertically is fixed, whereas the other part is movable vertically. So again it has all the three possibilities. If you have to shut this window, you have to put the movable part down. If you want to make it half open, hold it to the half level, or if you want to make the window full open, then lift this totally to the top, and then you have the window fully open. Sliding windows are one of the most common windows nowadays because they take less space and they are operated in the same frame that has been casted. They're generally 2-track or they are 3-track. So 2-track windows generally have panel of 2 glass, and when you talk about 3 tracks, it also consists of a wire mesh in between which controls the mosquitoes and other insects which can move into the building. So and these are very commonly used now in most of the structures, as you have the possibility of playing with the size. You can actually create large and long big windows out of it. So with that, I'm very thankful to you. I hope this video is very very informative, and if you have any kind of queries, please write us in the comments. I also request you to kindly subscribe the channel and like if you really like the video. Thank you so much. All the images that we have inserted are from the open source of internet, and we do not intend to insert anybody's copyright. Thank you.